So what did I think of Fantastic Beasts and where to find them? First off, we're going to talk about the plot. I found the plot to be pretty weak and incredibly convenient at times, so I didn't find myself enthralled by the story. The basic plot is that Newt Scamander has traveled to America to purchase some rare beasts that are apparently not purchasable anymore. But that's kind of a facade. He's there for actually another reason. He wants to release this huge bird-like flying four-legged beast thing back into the wilds of Arizona, which is fine. You know, that kind of stuff is fine. I wasn't really bothered about that, but it was the plot around that plot that just ruined the film for me. Like I said, it was convenient, very, very convenient at times, and that just annoyed the bejesus out of me. A perfect example of this is that the opening scene at the bank. So you have the crazy witch-hating woman who is, you know, doing one of her protests outside of a bank for whatever reason, and all of the main characters, bar Graves, are introduced right here. You have Newt, who is walking past the bank and sees a protest, so he walks over to it. You then have Tina, who is watching the protest, but then something about Newt catches her eye. And then you have Jacob, who is coming to the bank to you know, try and get a loan to start his bakery. So all these characters converge on this moment. There's an incident where a beast gets out of Newt's suitcase that has a broken latch. Fix the damn latch. This beast gets out and it caused all kinds of havoc in the bank, and then for some reason, you know, Tina follows Newt into the bank and Jacob gets thrown into it all, and at the end of this big scene, instead of Newt obliviating Jacob's mind, Jacob gets the upper hand and flees, but Jacob accidentally grabs the wrong case and has Newt's case, which means more shit happens and all the beasts, or a huge number of the beasts, get out and are roaming around New York City. Tina then exposes herself to Newt as being part of the US magical world, and she tries to bring him in to kind of, you know, get justice because he's exposed the wizarding world and blah 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 blah. So you're like, okay, this film is all about them just trying to find these beasts and stuff, but then there is other things happening and you're kind of like, how important is this to this film? How important is this to the overall 5-film saga that they're gonna do? And it's all around this character named Graves trying to find this super powerful evil magic girl, and he's using the character Credence, played by Ezra Miller, as his kind of confidant to find this girl because reasons. And that's about as deep as they go into it. What you find is the shit that's happening with Newt and Tina and Jacob trying to find these beasts collides with Graves and trying to find this magical child, and you know, people are captured, this happens, that happens, like, you know, a lot of little tiny things happen, and it felt like they were happening just because the plot required it. It didn't feel natural in a lot of places to me. It was kind of like, okay, we need them to get here, to see this, to do that, and it just kind of follows that, rather than they are doing something else and they see this and then it takes them somewhere else, which is kind of a better way of storytelling. So for me, the plot itself just felt weak and convenient and kind of dull. Take it back to the first Harry Potter film. The main thrust of the story is about Harry Potter embracing the magical world. He's learning about magic and good things and bad things, and he's having issues with people and all that kind of stuff. And then the kind of bigger thing that happens at the end is, you know, Voldemort is back. You know, that was a much better plotted story, whereas Fantastic Beasts just wasn't. You know, I found myself questioning characters' actions all the time. I couldn't figure out why Graves was bad, why Colin Farrell's character was bad. I'm like, well, you're bad because you look bad. Ezra's sister was obnoxiously creepy, and it's like, well, you're kind of over the top creepy to where it's like, do I believe you? Do I believe that she's that creepy? It just felt like, oh, we'll have a really creepy child and it'll make all the people think she's the creepy child, but in the end it'll be Ezra. He's the creepy guy because also he looks like a creepy weirdo. You have other cookie cutter characters, you know, you have this, you know, John Voight's character. He runs a newspaper and he's, you know, trying to get convinced by one of his sons to, you know, expose the magical world by this, you know, creepy, you know, witch-hating woman. And then you have his other son who's, you know, running for senator or mayor or something like that. And it's just like, you know, there's so many people and all these things happening, and you're like, what's really important? I'm seeing so much misdirection that I'm not even finding the direction of any kind of the plot. Like, I thought the plot was Newt trying to buy a beast, but now it's like newspaper guy, wannabe senator, mayor guy, unhappy son of editor of newspaper guy, creepy Salem hating people doing things, Graves doing things, the American magical president having meetings and always getting interrupted by Tina. Which, explain that to me. Explain why Tina can just always come and break into whatever meeting the president is having. I don't get that. That doesn't make sense. Didn't make sense. It didn't make sense. It was just stupid. So for me, plot just didn't connect. It wasn't cohesive. It just felt like a very rushed story that was more interested in setting up other films than telling its own individual story. There is no kind of a sense of growth in this film at all with any of the characters. But let's talk about our main characters, yeah? So you have Newt, Tina, Jacob, and Queenie. That's about all there is to say about them. Newt is supposed to be this awkward, shy guy who just can't really engage with humans, can't look them in the eye, but he does with, you know, he connects more with nature and with animals, which is fine if it's done well. I don't think that it made sense for me to see Newt in such a awkward state, given the fact that he is this kind of famous guy for exploring the world and finding all these magical beasts. I kind of viewed him more like a Professor Challenger kind of guy, this really bold, adventurous, you know, don't tell me what to do, I'm gonna go find this crazy beast. And I'm gonna tame it, and you can't tell me that I can't. So to be this kind of timid, shy, it just felt very lame to me. You could have done something a little bit cooler with him. Newt just didn't feel unique enough. By the end of the film, when there's a scene between him and Jacob's kind of being forced to be obliviated from everything that he's learnt. You know, Newt's like, oh, but you're my friend. You're my friend. I don't want you to be obliviated because you're my friend. Why is he your friend? Nothing has happened in this film that's made me go, oh, look, they're actually building a fun relationship. It's, nah, sorry. Like, just because you put on a football helmet and chest guard and you try and chase down a super horny rhinoceros beastie thing, nah, I'm not finding friendship here. I didn't buy him. I didn't buy his feelings towards any of the people at all. Tina, I don't know, bland. Just bland. There's not a lot I can really say about Tina other than I found her very bland. Works within the magical world because that's all magical people can do anyway. And she's just wanting to be more than what she is. She wants people to take her a little bit more seriously, but she just comes across like an idiot. I hate when you know, female characters are always idiots. And her sister Queenie is a mega idiot as well, and they both annoyed the hell out of me, and they shouldn't have at all. You know, Tina should have been someone who, you know, there should have been more obvious things where she was right about stuff, but because of Graves being evil, that should have apprehended things from working well, and it just didn't. She just came across like a nuisance to everyone, and I'm like, well, okay, wonderful, a nuisance. And then you have Queenie, who's her sister, and she's just basically a 1920s flapper, super one-dimensional. Her main interest is listening to the dirty thoughts of Jacob because he, you know, fancies her and she can read his mind. She can read minds in general. She doesn't really contribute a whole lot to the plot herself, actually. Even though she's on all the bloody posters, I was kind of like, why are you here? Like, what are you adding to this other than, you know, one particular scene, literally one scene where she helps Newt and Tina get out of a sticky situation. So as a whole, I don't feel like these four characters gel together like, you know, Ron and Hermione and Harry did. And I kind of hope there would have been. Like, I was assuming there would be some sort of like, oh, these are the, you know, four musketeers of the 1920s. And nah, it just didn't happen. I didn't feel invested. I didn't feel like I gave any kind of care about what happens to them. I didn't care if they succeeded in their goal or not, because I didn't believe in them as characters, basically. So the last few problems that I had with this film is a Newt, fix your case. Come on, dude, you're a magical guy, caught and captured huge bizarre monsters. Surely you can do a little bit of wizarding mumbo jumbo to fix your case. If he would have fixed that, that would have been great. But at the same time, there should have been some sort of protective measure so that Jacob couldn't just assist in that either. The case thing just was, again, a very convenient little thing to happen that just I don't feel should have happened. The end with the magical rain with poisonous goo was a bit, again, super convenient, because early in the story, Newt's talking to Jacob. He's like, oh, this vial. Like, oh, well, I got this vial of stuff, and I don't know what effects it could have, but it might have da 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 da. And it's like, okay, so you have this really potent venom, and you're gonna use it at the end to wipe everyone's mind, but you don't know if it will have the effect that you want. It's about as lame as the Men in Black making all of New York forget with the Statue of Liberty. The love stories were just stupid. I didn't believe in any of them. Queenie and Jacob, a little bit, but I'm just, again, because it was more like she was just into him because he wanted to get inside her pants. Okay. There was a very strong, like, sexual tension between those two, but to me, I'm like, is that enough for me to buy into a love interest between these two? And sure, they kind of connected over baking a little bit, but it just felt like it was more about her reading his dirty thoughts, and I didn't like that. I didn't buy it. I thought, you know, she's a, you know, tall, beautiful redhead, and he's a short, fat baker. Make me believe that this can work, bar sexual thoughts. And then, of course, at the very end, there's this weird tension between Tina and Newt. He's about to get on his boat, and he's like, oh, maybe I'll write a textbook. And everyone in the audience is like, oh, he's talking about the textbook. So he's saying he's gonna go write this textbook about all these beasts and all that kind of stuff. And then she's like, oh, well, I hope you know, I would like to read that. He's like, oh, well, do you mind if I send you a copy when I'm done? He's like, oh, I would like that very much. And then he's like, well, what if I brought it to you in person? And she's like, oh, I'd like that very much indeed. And it's like, hold on. You just went 2 hours of, you know, A, trying to get him arrested, to boost your career back up, Tina. So you've been doing that. Newt hasn't given two shits about a single person this entire film. He's only cared about getting his beasts. That's it. Didn't even give a shit about Credence as a character. He just wanted the evil ink blot. That's all he wanted with Credence. And so now at the end, there's this tension where they like kind of are like, maybe they like each other, maybe they don't. Like, well, where the hell did that come from? Even in the ridiculous scene when they're both facing the death penalty, she is being lowered into a vat of acid, very Dr. Evil-esque. And, you know, he saves her. Even then, there was no kind of like, I want to save her because I like her, because she's my friend. It's just kind of like, I want to save her because neither one of us have done anything wrong. I didn't buy into the love story whatsoever. I thought it was cheap, weak, and lame. Biggest problem was Graves. Like, I understood using the Salem witch haters as kind of your antagonists, and then having someone who's magical within their camp, but not fully realizing it, which, I mean, I did have a severe problem with Credence not knowing or being ignorant to the fact that he was this giant ink blot evil beastie thing. Like, that was a bit stupid that he didn't know, or he should have been more aware, because he was very bloody aware at the end. But Graves just didn't make sense. At the end, it's revealed that he's Grindelwald, played by Johnny Depp. But Graves' character didn't make sense. If he is Grindelwald in disguise, you know, why did he pick Graves as someone he wants to assume? What was it about Graves' position that made that such a vital thing? Why do that? And what was Graves like before he took over Graves' life? You know, was Graves a nice guy? And now he's kind of evil. Again, this is where the problem of too many plots are coming in. So it's like, really, you know, you should have had maybe, you know, not the Salem people, and had Graves trying to manipulate things and showing a change of personality, while Newt and people are trying to, you know, either find beasts or rescue lost beast or something like that, something would have made a little bit more sense, and then have them collide through things. Maybe Graves wanted, I know Graves wanted the big ink blot thing, but he wasn't really sure what he was after. He just wanted the child because he knew they were powerful. So if it was more like Graves, aka Grindelwald, wanted a particular beast that was going to be like, then that would have made their collision more natural. It would have made a lot more sense, and especially if Newt is so into saving these creatures. If Grindelwald or Graves got a hold of that, it would have been more motivation for Newt to go after him and kind of be like, I have to save this creature from this person who's going to potentially do bad things to it. That would have made way more sense. And my last point is CGI. This film has some of the worst CGI that I've seen in a film in a very long time. Some of the CGI was as bad as the very first Harry Potter film. Like if you watch that scene with the troll, or the Quidditch stuff, or the broom things, you can just blatantly tell that you're just looking at computer animated crap. While some of the sets and aesthetic looked kind of nice, a lot of the monsters looked very, very fake. They looked like they were pulled out of Star Wars or Star Trek or any other kind of sci-fi fantasy film. Didn't see anything that made me kind of feel awe and wonder. I felt like, oh, I've seen this before, like I'm not saying anything interesting here. So yeah, that is my review of Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, or as I like to call it, bad CGI beasts and how to lose them.